Hello and welcome to Dawn Chorus Writes. Hi, I'm Dawn and this is Miraculous Ladybug fanfiction and audiofiction. This is the series for Fusion November, a game of cat and mouse, and we are on part 3. So I hope you're enjoying it. Make sure you smash that like button. Comment down below what you think of it and what's about to happen, and subscribe if you haven't already, because there's just so many more coming and we're about to hit the Christmas ones, and yeah, there's just so many reasons to subscribe. So I hope you enjoy Cat and Mouse. Part 3. Adrien, Cat's POV. Adrien bounced out of bed, excited about the day ahead. He couldn't wait to see Marinette and be Adrien, her boyfriend, who could wrap his arms around his princess Minnie. It had been harder than he thought being Cat around her, and realised that Plagg was right. Not that he would tell that bottomless cheese cousin. He'd probably have to pay him in an overpriced order. If Marinette became suspicious of Cat, if he acted too much like Adrien, that was a strange thought. He'd always worried that he'd showed too much of Cat in Adrien, and now he was worried about the opposite from happening. Either way, he would have to turn back on flirty Cat during his game of cat and mouse this afternoon. He glanced at his phone and realized his little daydream had cost him precious time and would now need to hurry if he wanted to steal a moment with Marinette before class. Longing to hold her in his arms and express how much she lit up his world. He quickly got changed and threw in extra cheese into his bag for this afternoon, along with his books. "Quickly, Plagg, we need to go." His Kwame let out a little moan as he flew out of his special cupboard, he liked to call it, and stopped in front of Adrien. "What's the rush this morning? Are we eager to see Princess or Minnie?" His little friend gave Adrien a smirk before flying into his pocket. "She'll always be my princess." His voice drifted off. The car pulled up to the front steps of the school. He scanned the crowd gathering for a glimpse of the trio. He saw the red cap first, floating above the other heads, and made his way directly towards it. Nino came into view first, followed by Alia with her arm around the man whilst laughing at Marinette. There she was, his girl. He still couldn't believe he was this lucky to be loved and in love with this amazing woman. No, now she was a superwoman. He chuckled to himself. They had started dating fast, approaching 4 months now, ever since he had visited Marinette as Cat a year ago, drawn to her calming presence in the constant demanding responsibilities as Cat and Adrien. He had thought it was strange how she talked to Cat differently than Adrien, how much more relaxed she was with him, wearing a mask, getting to know this other side of his friend, and desired it as Adrien. Yes, he might have encouraged certain secrets out of her, and then encouraged her and helped to build up her confidence. But when she finally confessed one night that her secret love was with him, that changed everything. He was no longer this rejected cat to his lady, but rather a prince to his princess, who he had already been slowly falling for. Yeah, loving Marinette felt right. "Hey," he said casually whilst wrapping his arm around her waist and returning a smile back to her beaming face. "Hey you." She mirrored his action and felt that surge at her first touch of the day, holding back laughter at the thought of 10 mini Marinettes hanging onto his catsuit. "Hey bro," Nino added in. "Morning, sunshine. You too. The sweetness makes my teeth hurt." "Coming from you, and how much we've endured 2 years of you two? Sweetness? It's simply payback." Marinette smirked before leaning up on her tippy toes and gave Adrien a lingering kiss on his cheek. Oh wow. He couldn't resist gently placing his hand up to her cheek as he felt her pull away, rotating his body and softly brushed his lips against hers, satisfying the hunger he had felt over the past 48 hours. But at that moment, she kissed him back, confirming to him just how much she loved him, made his heart sing. Nino, help! I need a dentist now. Oh, the pain! Too much sugar! Alia declared dramatically, causing the couple to break away to the sound of Nino playing along with Alia through bursts of laughter. Alia, seriously? Then, girl, do it in private if you don't want to hear the audience's reaction. Alia raised her eyebrows before quickly giving Nino a peck on his cheek, causing him to blush at the sudden intimacy. Come on, you. Let's leave these two lovebirds to it. I need to grab a book before class. See you later, my dudes. Nino waved with his free hand and guided Alia through the front gates. Once they were semi-alone, people still bustling past them, greeting good morning, and Rose's usual squeaky squeal at the sight of them finally being a couple. Adrien wrapped both arms around her and noticed a blush forming on her cheeks. How cute. So, what did you get up to yesterday? He couldn't resist the urge to tease, and was rewarded with a deeper pink in her cheeks and the nervous glance down, unable to meet his eyes. Oh, you know, racing across the city, getting jobs done. How about you? She fumbled over a word, telling him a form of truth. Clever. Yeah, me too. But you were in my thoughts the entire time. Really? Her eyes darted upwards, locking onto his. Those ocean eyes. How much time he had lost drowning in them. Really? Are you able to get lunch with me today? You don't have any extra projects demanding your attention? There was a sudden look of conflict on her face before masking it with a smile. It was a look that came before a lie. I can do lunch, but I do have a new project, a commitment after school, just in case we had plans to study. He felt himself pulling the same look, hating this part, not being able to tell her the truth. No, we didn't have plans, and I'm in the same position. I've got last-minute plans after school, but tomorrow I'm free for that study date or catch a movie. There is a new... Don't you have fencing tomorrow after school? Oh, yeah. He had realized the other day he spent more time hanging out with his princess watching films or talking as Cat than he had done as Adrien. Cat was the one who could sneak out and knock on her window. Adrien had schedules and commitments he had to fulfill, and be grateful for the stolen moments at school and the weekends if he didn't have a shoot on or additional studies. And yet, Cat wasn't allowed to do this. To feel her skin against his, to hold her so close her body became his, to kiss her when she had a silly whipped cream moustache. Adrien, are you okay? It's fine, you know. I understand. We can grab that film another time. The touch of her fingers running through the back tufts of his hair and along his neck brought him back to the present. We have all the time in the world. She lowered her voice and leaned in closer, breathing into his ear. I love you. In that instant, the dark clouds disappeared and the sun shone brightly, filling him up with a warm glow. How did a black cat get this lucky? She angled back ever so slightly, giving him a look that melted his heart and sealed over the cracks his life before her had created. Not caring about the audience they might have, he kissed her until he couldn't breathe. The sound of the school bell forced them apart with the widest grins on both their faces. It was his turn to need that dentist. Hand in hand, they quickly dashed to the lockers before racing into class, receiving a wink and a nudge from Nino as he took his seat. At lunchtime, they hung out in Marinette's room, fueled by snacks made by Mama Shang, and finished the homework he hadn't had time yesterday to complete, whilst Marinette sat next to him sketching out some new design. From the focus on her face, he knew it was important to her, and yet she brushed off the drawings, suggesting they were nothing more but doodles, but swore he saw a hint of a paw print. Was she making something for Cat? He paused, realizing for the first time she never told him, Adrien, about her hanging out with Cat. He had never noticed it before, placing his two versions of himself into different boxes, keeping them separate. But why shouldn't she tell him about Cat? I mean, meeting a masked boy on a balcony to talk, hang out and watch films, bake cookies one time when she was trying to cheer him up. Putting it that way, if Adrien was another guy, he would be jealous of his girlfriend spending time like that together with someone else, even if they were just friends. A pang of guilt hit him, putting Marinette in that position, wondering what her thoughts were on the matter, and yet she didn't seem to mind yesterday as she made him hot chocolate. However, if he hadn't become friends with her as Cat, would he be sitting here now, finally knowing what true love felt like, or would he be still pining over Ladybug, recovering after another rejection? Adrien? She placed her hand on top of his, brushing her thumb across his knuckles. Are you okay today? You seem a tad lost in your thoughts. Did something happen yesterday? She whispered, running her hand up his arm and landing it in his hair as she stroked back the rough strands that hung across his forehead. He angled his head against her hand, forcing back the desire to purr. Everything is fine, Marinette. They are good thoughts, I promise you. He held her stare so that she would believe his words. Okay, if you say so. But you know, you can tell me or ask me anything. I'm here for you. I know. He leaned in a fraction closer. Marinette, there is something I want to tell you, he said in a serious tone, catching her off guard, giving him a nod to continue. Edging closer, he dropped his voice to barely a whisper. I love you with all my heart. She kissed the smirk on his lips and a hint of a chuckle emitting from his throat. After school, they bid their usual goodbyes with promises to call later. Adrien would head home, complete some of his usual tasks, and then sneak out and meet up with Minnie. He was excited to see her superhero form again, a chance to run across the rooftops, but after his thoughts chasing back and forth all day, wondering if this was a good idea after all. If only she could know the truth, realizing how she might feel once she learned that her kitty was indeed her prince. Would she understand? Would she still love him? Both sides of him. As he transformed into Cat, making his way to Notre Dame to meet Minnie, he promised himself that he would act more professional, less flirty, and be a true teammate for his Multimouse. And yet, as he landed down on the roof and saw Minnie was already waiting for him, looking super cute, he discovered how hard it would be to keep that promise. Hey, Minnie. Someone is enthusiastic for patrol today. He flashed her a broad smile. It would be strange if Cat wasn't a tiny bit flirty, right? Hey, kitty. She laughed, playing with her tail like she did with random pieces of thread when she was nervous. Yeah, I hope it's okay that I'm early. I mean, I haven't been waiting that long, but it's nice to take a moment and gaze at the city. How lucky we are to be able to see it from this angle. Cat stood next to her, clenching his hands over his baton so that he didn't wrap them around her, pulling her in against the chilly air. Instead, he followed her lead and took a deep breath, embracing a view that he'd taken for granted. You know, Being cat for a while now, this has become normal for me, and I forget how lucky I am to have these moments. Thank you, Minnie. It's a funny concept, isn't it? That being a magical superhero is normal? Finding it hard to imagine life before Ladybug and Cat Noir appeared, saving the city from Shadow Moth and his evil butterflies. Don't forget yourself, Minnie, and all the other members of the team, keeping his stare on the horizon so not to get drawn in. Of course, but still, the idea of ancient magic existing? The Kwamis? When I think how old they are and what they've seen. And still Plag has the manners of I don't know. He's like nothing else. His obsession over cheese. And yet, he's my best buddy. I don't know what I would do without him. He chuckled at the look his buddy would pull at his words, commenting on how the gush would infect his cheese. She placed a hand on his shoulder. That's really sweet to hear, Kitty. His eyes darted to her hand and then to her face, giving him that look that made him want to pour his heart out to his princess and confess his hidden thoughts, standing on her balcony. She gave him a quick pat and then removed it back to her tail. Shall we start the patrol? Focusing back on the task at hand. Thought we could follow the left bank first, making our way across the city before coming back here. Yep, sounds good to me. You're the leader. She gave him an encouraging smile. Oh, she was so sweet. No, focus. Teammate, professional. He repeated 3 times, hoping the words would sink in. Great. I was thinking, if we really tested the abilities of Multimouse so you felt comfortable using it. That's a good idea. And I bought extra snacks, so that should be fine. Kitty. She dropped her voice on his name, making him lean in. She tapped him on the shoulder. You're it, she declared. Her expression became mischievous as she jumped back, whipping off her tail and used it to fling herself across to another nearby roof before he realized what was happening. Thank you for listening to part 3, a game of cat and mouse. I hope you liked it. Make sure you smash that like button if you did. Subscribe if you haven't already. We're on part 3 and part 4 will be coming out next week. And comment down below. If you don't know what to say Minnie again. Sorry, my brain's gone dead. And yeah, I will speak to you soon. Okay, bye.